Hey, it is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to talk about really sort of what I would call engineered chaos at the hands of a psychopath, sort of engineered chaos or crazy making that you sort of see exhibited from a narcissist in a relationship. So we're going to sort of zoom in and focus in on that experience and how do you get it sorted out? How do you then make sense of it and then move on? Because it's so very difficult. It really leads to a lot of confusion, a lot of actually then self-recrimination, self-doubt. It causes one to really not understand where they hold their ground or where they stand because of this manipulation tactic. Engineered chaos. Okay, engineered chaos, meaning they will create a disorder. They will create pandemonium. They will create drama. They will create distractions. They will create blaming, finger pointing, and triangulation. So in other words, the old gossip and throwing somebody under the bus. He, she, aren't they? And so they will try to usually sort of use this as the sort of nosy, know-it-all approach. And then they will use it, I would think, to sort of bait others that they know what's going on. And that you should sort of side with them so that you can be on the side with all the information, and then they will sort of extol the future, the virtue of their information. But this is the engineered chaos, and really that creates the walking on eggshells, the fear and trepidation is part of a manipulation tactic, unfortunately, that a psychopath or a malignant narcissist will utilize. This is also called crazy making. But let me give you an example. They will want to disturb the flow. If things are not sort of going in their direction, whether it's their day, not their day, their meeting, not their meeting, their neighborhood, not their neighborhood, they have a tendency and a desire to be the ringleader, to be the one with the charm, to have everybody wrapped around their finger. Meaning they want to call the shots. This gives them a sense of reward and being on top of things. And I think it gives them a big ego stroke. Now, particularly for someone who is psychopathic, this can take a grave turn and create a real problematic and crippling situation for a lot of people, particularly if this is in your workplace, your family, your marriage, your community, your neighborhood, wherever you encounter this. There is going to be these layers, if you will, many, 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 many layers of deception, deceit, hiding, and sort of brainwashing and scapegoating for you so that they can control your perspective, if you will, what you and how you interact with them and a group. So they like to, they will sort of team up, quote unquote, with people who they can pivot on or use as a stepping stone just to get somewhere, something, appear as if it is very much like what I would call a social decoy. They take others as a decoy, meaning a shield, a buffer. Look at me as if I am this social butterfly, this very religious, righteous person, this, influential speaker at the workplace or what have you, or the one who calls all the shots in the family, in the marriage, what have you. But the problem with this is with the engineered chaos, which is designed with a pre-calculated and premeditated mapping to others' ruin and downfall, hurt, sorrow, pandemonium, disaster, wanting to give up, wanting to throw in the towel, losing their cool, losing their marbles, freaking out, all that sort of that negative that is the antithesis of quote unquote the positive that they feel, that they will sort of the virtue that they quote unquote non-verbally will communicate. In other words, you better listen to me, you better be on my side, you better. So they will sort of shut others down and cause others to be a follower. So you can never be of self-agency or empowerment because of this engineered chaos, meaning it's always a maze that does not ever let out. It does always take you into a wall, another wall. You think you've just reached a plateau, and then you forgive and forget just like a normal person, and then will come the jab behind the knee, under the rib, under the jaw, whatever it is. There is a very specific pattern that is designed to throw people off, make them go, what just happened? And want to be very angry. So create a lot of disrupted, unsettled, and dramatizing states in others that is not in their best interest. So in other words, to be very provocative of anger or other bad emotional habits. So the psychopath and the narcissist, is part of their engineered chaos, is they will sort of coat their dark side with a sort of sugar coating, if you will, a charm, a bossiness, a louder voice, a bigger pocketbook, a quicker wit, a faster step. There will always, just sort of be of this. And then they will usually sort of win people in by, in other words, they will try to then own the room, if you will. I think, or own the relationship. In other words, they like this position of power. They have an insatiable need for power and control. So it's not just that they will achieve something and then they can share. There is no back and forth. And then the engineered chaos will assure that there will be a victim, and assure that it is so, that one is broken down and really in a setback, regressed, in a adverse situation. So unfortunately, this is part of the premeditated, pre-calculated. This is just what they do. The psychopath will admittedly hurt others. So they will tell you that, and they will basically align with others who have something that they want. So they don't really take relationships. They kind of know this about themselves, but they also are aware that they must put a facade or persona and belay their boredom in such a way so that this part of this chaos is to ensure that they can always sort of escape, unscathed. There is never anything wrong, held into accountability, into check, and especially, for people who do not like to be confrontative, who are not argumentative, who don't want to cause a scene, who don't want to, walk on eggshells, for people who don't want, blood-curdling screams, for or unhappiness, or feeling that all these sort of disappointments that they're constantly sort of dangling above you, namely that of lack of support and invalidation. And this can be so fragmenting to others that it can be emotionally crippling. The engineered chaos, which means there is no direction. It's just sort of this diffuse emotional bullying that they will utilize as a force or tension. It is a force. And they are aware of this. They are very well aware of this, but largely they go undetected. The engineered chaos is to cause fear, pandemonium, reactivity, quick action without thinking, causing people to lose it. And then you're not coming from your best place. You're not coming from a sense of being respected. You're set up in a constantly triggered place if you are with them for some time. So, and part of the problem is that there's this brainwashing or dissociative where they won't allow validation of what would be a normal, healthy inquiry. In other words, they will lie, they will withhold, they will evade, they will not keep you in the loop. They will, and then, in so many ways show you that you're not in the loop, as if you had any choice or any. In other words, it's just kind of like a cat and mouse where they just want to wound, and then they continue to play with the wounded mouse just to see it wriggling around and unhappy and then reactive. And so it can just, further injure it and keep it sort of amused. So they become very amused, unfortunately, by this. And they feel it's their place to call out others, to jab them in the gut. So people are never able to tune into their own gut. They're only tuning into the elbow that is always into theirs. And so they are unable then to tune them out or make a clear message from the relationship. There's this constant static, constant, promises, constant reward and disappointment. So there's this oftentimes which keeps the trauma bond, or which keeps it so painfully interlocked with this chaos, is there's intermittent reinforcement, where then they'll be there, protect you, reward you, give you the positive. You'll think that, everything's okay. And then you think things are normal, and then they'll mistreat you, abuse you, disrespect you. They'll go back to the same antics, shenanigans, whatever it is, that there is really oftentimes only a coldness or a callousness. There is a lack of empathy. And usually you have to dish out more than your fair share of understanding, cutting them some slack, making excuses, amends for them, to the point where you're negating your own internal compass and unable to register, this is out of bounds, this is violationary energy. Why am I not really able to stand up for this? Or, in other words, the opportunity doesn't always present itself to handle it because of their very many layers of puzzling communication, of really sort of playing with others' self-esteem, I would say, is in that insecurity of being in, of being out, of being trusted, of, sort of, you kind of know what's going on, but you don't. They like to keep their victims in this very gray, nebulous, mysterious, or enigmatic area. It's like the puzzle zone. They want people to stay puzzled. Puzzling leads to tension, stress, health abnormalities, unhappiness, emotional breakdowns, neurological disorders, immune problems, loss of interest in ability, a loss of interest in life. I mean, it has so many negative adverse outcomes. It is designed really just to keep everybody on this roller coaster and then struggling. Struggling is, where you're exerting a lot of energy in order to maintain some sort of equilibrium. And it's your own equilibrium, but they are causative of this tension. So you, of course, naturally want to resolve the tension, but you should not, that amount of tension, that amount of having to wonder about their strategy, their communication, why they try to run the show through a number of different circles, who's in, who's out, and then control who's in or who's out based on specific requirements that you might not even know about that are unfair, that whether it could be you're a male, a female, you've done this and this at your workplace, you've done this and this in your bank account, you've done this and this spiritually, or whatever sort of mysterious requirements that they will put out there and then pull back. So you really become like an emotional raw meat, just tug and war over an emotional cheese grater. I mean, they really like to shred people up with this chaos, with this confusion, with this battling of in the gray area, fighting usually for yourself and your respect. So once again, it becomes so disruptive that people can't tune in and go, man, this is disrespectful, I don't need this, and you just handle it and you exit. It's not that easy, because there's all sorts of other enigmatic sort of communication that assumes if you do this, you could be in dire straits. You might not make it. Then you might not make it at your job, your community, your neighborhood. Your family might look down on you. They will weaken you. That is sort of the end result of to break others down emotionally. So to really keep in that puppeteer. So, but it's not, they don't want to see people happy. They don't want to see people supported. They don't want to see people feeling respected, autonomous, industrious, problem solving, or having boundaries and standards. So essentially the problem, and it seems so simple, but they truly do not want to see you happy. I mean, for them, this is just, they will, and there's so many different emotional states, but ultimately it is to create misery and ruin. And so I don't use those terms lightly, and the psychopath will know it to be so. So they do not have a conscience. So the narcissist will just do it because they feel empowered and blazoned, that they feel on top of the heap in order to be able to call these shots. So it gives them a feeling of leadership. But, it's really, you must realize that they will do this at the expense of others. So you do not want to find yourself involved in these types of relationship equations, because it will make you feel empty. You'll feel that something is missing. Something is awry. Something is off. And that is truthfulness. That is being straightforward. That is openness and honesty. It's a palpable thing. But oftentimes people don't want to call somebody out, or, I've never felt this way before. I can't quite put a finger on it, so I'll just sort of let it go. And then they make excuses. Oh, well, maybe this, maybe they were having, maybe that, they're just always angry, or maybe they're just, maybe I always do need, maybe I am this, person that should not be included. So you begin to buy into their lies. That creates erroneous and flawed thinking, which creates an adverse internal environment within people. In other words, it becomes so severe that people cannot sort of break free of a rumination or a dissociative cycle, where they can't go, man, I'm just tuning this out. I'm not involved in this, excuse me, but no, thank you. They don't have a way to make this statement. There is not this guttural, kinesthetic, you're sort of on an emotional snag. It's because there is so much deception, manipulation of a kind that is very oftentimes high level, that is oftentimes beyond what you might have experienced before in this type of person. This is not your ordinary Joe, ordinary Sarah. We are talking about your antisocial personality disorder individuals, or your cluster B. We're talking about people who, have an insatiable need for power and control, and to get really what they want at all costs. So that's sort of boiling it down, but really in lack of empathy. And part of their manipulation tactics is this engineered chaos and crazy making. Just when you thought everything was okay, your finest moments, they're not going to show up. They're going to come in late. They're going to steal your thunder. They're going to tell you about something else, and then all of a sudden it's going to be all about them, and you didn't get your glory day. You didn't get to be treated fairly. You did not get just and fair, respectful treatment. I mean, we're talking about an intangible here. We're talking about something that is a no state. But oftentimes it is very difficult to accept. There's this cognitive dissonance that is created as part of the engineered chaos and the crazy making, which is that of that, I am your best ally. I can help you out. I am, you need me, or you should be so lucky. These are sort of the unspokens, but they will not allow you to be respected. So it's all about sort of making their ego bigger on a percentage and then making you smaller, especially with time. This becomes more pronounced. On a percentage wise, relationships should really be, 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 60, and sort of go back and forth. But things become very lopsided. Things become very skewed. You kind of go, this was a little off. And then you sort of, might explain it away, but then it occurs again and again. And it'll usually happen so fast, and they'll usually do it with usually some sort of success, a win. I told you so. I got this business deal, and I'm better now. So they seal their sort of ego trophy again and again and again. And so they're kind of like, they treat themselves like as if they are the trophy walking around the room, and everybody should just want to get a picture with them, and that, you are not enough in and of yourself. You don't hold any water, any weight. You are disempowered. You are in the dark. You are triggered into an adverse or negative disempowered state. This is engineered chaos. This is crazy making you confused, fouling you up, namely through triggers, which are adverse punishing looks, adverse punishing behaviors, that, exclusiveness, isolating others, not including, making sure that there's a demarcation between them and you, meaning that you cannot be on a shared vibe. There is no two-way communication. As much as you might want it, expect it, need it, desire it to be so, only think that people are capable of this, it is time to sort of recalibrate your understanding of this. This is a truly horrific, crippling situation that can plague people for years. It can confuse people. They will remain in a silent suffering state through years, especially the formative years. We're talking about teenagers, young adults, young couples, newly employed, who, newly moved in, significant people who you want to respect and look up to, that you have all the agency for a healthy relationship, and that is turned into mincemeat, chopped liver, and that is not even really the extent of it. It's really sort of, you are made to be non-present, non-respected, non-validated not only in the ethereal, which is your emotional body, but also in the physical, in the kinesthesiology, in your chemistry, in what is, and then it creates then sort of a very negative environment, which is reactive in negative state. In other words, I liken it as a parallel to when you go to the doctor and they put the hammer and they do the reflex under your knee, and you're just sort of, and they go, yeah, your reflexes. They try to really sort of latch and hook onto others, hook, line, and sinker with this knee-jerk reactivity, which is not under your control. This is part of the problem, is that hitherto it is, so you can't go to the doctor and go, you know what, I don't want to look like a fool here. I'm not going to, allow my knee to, it's a reflex. So it's a reflex. It's an automatic. So they create this sort of automatic reflex, reactive state in others, which then they are always trying to pay the price, recover from. There's always some negative banter. You did this to the garage, you did this to whatever. Usually there's some sort of negative, you didn't take care of this with or that. There's going to be a lot of finger pointing that is throwing you why you're incapable, incompetent, and not worthy of being acknowledged or validated. But this is untrue. They are not the king or queen of your soul. Even though they might act like it, take you under, quote unquote, their wing, this is not correct. They will really separate you from your own, not only your I am, but your sort of inner gut. So once again, it's kind of like M. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled. It's kind of like they are kind of like a constant toothache. They are constantly needing to sort of aggravate and utilize others to prop them up to get what they need. So rather than them dealing with it, they will project it onto others. And so you will always sort of have this sort of toothache-like effect. In other words, it's very difficult to be happy if you always have a toothache. There's always some sort of pain. And so you're always having to tune into what is the jab in my stomach versus I am okay and I am safe and this is normal and I have a functioning normal relationship. No, they will take you way off into left field, the hay fields, the cement fields, the emotional minefield. It ain't going to be someplace where you would like to take a passport and vacation. You are going to feel a sense of struggle, like you have to get some dirt under your nails to get yourself out. You are feeling all of a sudden you're plunged into playing dirty. I do not play dirty, peace and harmony, but people are confused. They, tell me they do all these things that are out of character. They are then embarrassed. They think that they're emblazoned. They might then make excuses. Oh, I do this because I love them. Their relationship is so meaningful. No, they have control over you. They are manipulating you. They are getting you into a reactive state and getting you into rages of fury, embarrassment, condescension, humiliation. This is what I'm trying to tell you. They are like the emotional cook that wants you really just to be very, very sick. So it's very unfortunate, even though they might be very pleasing to others, charming, the king or queen of whatever it is, the workplace, the family. I mean, you all know that they have this sort of charm, and they can be very funny, lovable, charismatic type of people. I mean, but the problem is the addiction to this then chaos, which it does not cease. The addiction does not resolve. It becomes an addiction to this tension that they will create in you, and then feeling if you abandon this and don't work out this puzzle, that somehow you are abandoning yourself, the best in the relationship. It does not make sense. So people will drag it on and on and on and on, and they don't realize that they're sort of dragging this on like a cape through the flames, and they don't ever get a chance to feel relaxed in their own body or to understand and experience what is a healthy and respectful, supportive relationship like. In fact, their own internal environment can become so agitated that it takes a while for it to resensitize and calm down. You need to go no contact when you are in the midst of this engineered chaos. Look over here. react to this, respond to this comment, text, so, and, it is, you're, and it's very reactive, quick react quicker. You're not fast enough. And then you miss this, and then it's just, you cannot ever feel that you are sort of keeping up with the Joneses, is what they delight in. I mean, they get a reward, a blast, a dopamine hit, a reward. I mean, they're all empowered about this way of treating people. So unfortunately, it's at the expense of others, and others end up paying, with dearly, with their time, their energy, and their suffering. So don't be one where you're making a martyr out of yourself because of the crazy making. You do not need to stay on this path of struggle. If it's craggy, rugged, you're stubbing your toe, you just wore out your shoes, they're wearing you out, wearing you thin. You can't make it to the next event because you're always there's a problem that you can't fix with the relationship. This is the time to realize it ain't your fault. It is not you. This person is making it unnecessarily uncomfortable, not a good fit, and creating this conflict, which is engineered chaos. They will create conflict where there is none. They will create this sort of distraction where there shouldn't be any. In other words, they're people who will steal the thunder, steal the glory, steal the support, steal your 15 minutes of fame or whatever it is. They will not, because they're not able to validate and acknowledge where you're coming from. They lack empathy. This is just between the two. This is a commonality. So unfortunately, when you're not feeling closure, it's because they're not able to provide this experience to you. That is their shortcoming. It is not your shortcoming. You need to step back and realize this is just how they are, and they will not change. So you can kind of step away from the meat grinder. Step away from the emotional meat grinder. If every time you're getting hurt, and this is always causing you to feel under your skin, it's because there is a violation of a boundary and a standard in a disrespect that they will project onto you and to everybody else. They won't see the plank that is in their own eye. They will always, and that's part of the confusion, is that they will project all this onto you. That's the crazy making, is, you're not caring enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You don't have enough degrees. You are not, you can fill it in enough. And it is, and they'll say what is missing actually with them is their empathy. So when you say what is missing, it's because there is no sort of heart to heart, belly to belly, toe to toe of truth, honesty, and clarity. They will not permit that transparency. That is such a disgrace. They will not also permit you to have your feelings. They will not permit you to have any meaning from what you've been through. You cannot interpret or feel bad or good about anything, because to them it should be something opposite. So understand that these people truly do not want to see others happy. They actually want to see the flip side. They want to see others ruin, despair, freaking out, losing their kahunas, losing their cool, losing their marbles, screaming, getting in trouble, getting thrown out, getting fired, getting divorced, getting more caught up in, do you see, they will, and you can tell because they will cause others to lose their composure. Like they feel that they can be all dramatic, but they will cause others, even those who are the coolest of a cucumber, they will try to provoke those. And eventually those people might get a little bit rattled, but they will try to even rattle They will, try to rattle easy people to rattle, hard people to rattle. The harder to get to rattle, maybe they'll even work harder and feel a greater sense of accomplishment. So I'm sorry you've had to go through this. I hope you get and understand that it is disrespect, and invalidation and lack of support. And you have to get centered and focused within yourself as a priority. And it's very difficult to do this, especially when that ability has been crippled as a result of the relationship. So you might need to sort of focus in on the channel and look at some remedial steps that we talk about, sort of restoring that I am, that place, your emotional footing, your emotional legs, not being on sea legs anymore. They want you to be tipsy-turvy, motion sick. I mean, this is the experience. We're going to wrap it up here, but realize that is the cause of the effect of their desire. So don't, do not absorb all that they're projecting to you. You really need to understand. You need to put an end to it. And you can. We'll talk more about that, but that is what the experience is. And you can tell because it is so confusing. Things don't make sense. Things don't add up. And you are not getting supported for anything positive. It becomes almost laughable, the degree to which people are treated as invisible or not validated. And this crazy making is part of that. And then that dissociation, like people are just confused, and then they lose, you're falling into their trap as part of what is happening. So do not fall into a trap. It is very unpleasant. Step away from the trap, get into something lighter, freer, and less combative, conflict-oriented, and just easier going. Life is too short. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony. I hope the videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace be within, peace be without, and have a great day.